we see the space whales. That's right, fellow normies. Space whales! Okay, so episode 3, yikes. I am genuinely trying to be optimistic and give this show a chance, but man, today was slow. I went into this whole thing with zero knowledge, so I have nothing to dislike until the show gives me something. Today made it really, really tough. What even happened today? Looks like nothing. We'll get into all the things that didn't happen in this episode, but first, let's talk about the last one or two. I went in blind, and I found the first 2 episodes to be enjoyable. This made a lot of people very angry and has been widely regarded as a bad move. Fans of the series hate it, and I get that. I really do, guys. By the time you're watching this video, I will have seen all or part of the new season of The Wheel of Time, and I'm going to be absolutely insufferable to everyone around me. So trust me when I say I feel your pain. I also missed a few funny things. Like I said, I did not find the first episode slow because I was learning all these people and the backgrounds and everything, so I had a lot to distract me. So some people brought up silly things that I missed, like the droid self-destruct sequence in the first episode. Like, Ahsoka's gonna get away with the MacGuffin, and they're like, no, you're not! We're gonna self-destruct in 300, 299, 290, you're not gonna get away, 297, 29. As I said in the previous video, Filoni had a really tough job. He needed to give a lot of fan service and expand these stories while at the same time making things accessible enough for people like me to get on board. But as is usually the case, when people get a little bit too seeker-friendly, he watered down the whole thing and just made it boring. Anybody that already knew these characters were bored to death. Now, I figured that was going to be just the first 2 episodes. You got a 2-episode premiere, we're going to take time to build the foundation, and that's going to allow us to get a little bit of a launch pad, and then in the 3rd episode, we're really going to take off with the story, right? Okay, so I'm still feeling optimistic. I am not ready to throw in the towel and crap all over this show, but oh man, episode 3 is not making it easy. As I said before, a whole lot of nothing happened. So let's start at the top of this nothing pile. For starters, we've got a training session that makes Ahsoka look like a giant prick. We walk in, Sabine is working forms, and we once again see the best character far and away, hands down, it's Huyang. Let's give him a hand, everybody.
Not bad, but not good.
It's been a while.
Obviously.
Absolute fact machine never misses an opportunity to remind Sabine that she sucks, and I love it, because she's awful.
Enough to get by?
Barely.
I think the writers want us to believe that Huyang is like rude or bad for this, but he is on point. Where exactly are the lies? You know what? Let me just let him explain it for himself. Huyang.
Forget about game. I only spoke the truth.
He is an absolute savage, and he's a droid. He's run the numbers. He can prove mathematically that he does not have fewer fucks to give. There is not enough Huyang in this show. So Sabine is not great with the saber, and Ahsoka decides to, I think she's trying to prove some kind of point, but it doesn't make any sense. She has Sabine put on a blindfold and then dance around her and tap her every now and then with a wooden training sword. First of all, this scene, I think, took 20 minutes, or it felt like it. We would have been so much better served with like a montage of trainings or various stuff. Even I was bored with this.
We're gonna need a montage.
But more than that, it doesn't tell us anything. Of course she's winning, Sabine's blindfolded, she's not. This has nothing to do with the Force. If she had also had a blindfold on and was still winning, that would have taught Sabine a lesson and explained to us, the audience, what a person wielding the Force can do. But as it is, she just looks like a massive griefer. She should have ended that training session with a big, "Get good, scrub!" Her lines don't make sense either. Sabine's got the blindfold on and she asks her, "Where am I in the room?" And then she sneaks up on the other side and says, "No, I'm over here. You're dead." And Sabine's like, "Well, I wouldn't be if I could see you," which, yeah, that's true. And Ahsoka's like, "Exactly." Exactly what? That doesn't make any sense. You can't just act stoic and say mysterious things in a sagely way and think it's gonna make sense.
He thinks just because he don't say anything, it'll have some huge impact when he does open his fucking mouth.
So finally, all of this ends, and the only thing that we, the audience, have learned is that Huyang's a freaking boss. He's a whole mood. Next, we've got Hera asking politicians for aid. Now, I don't like to buy too much into the gender stuff. I want to give them a chance. The first 2 episodes didn't have a whole lot of misandry crap that we've come to expect, but in this one, of course, the one senator, the man, he's being an absolute douche. Now, he's not the only one that disagrees with Hera. None of them actually want to commit resources, but everybody else is being kind. He, of course, is being a complete asshat and suggesting that the only reason she wants the resources is to find a man. I'm actually kind of shocked he didn't tell her she was being hysterical. That's usually what straw males call women when hack writers want to let you know that they're the bad guys, they're chauvinists. Then we meet this kid who is obviously, that's Ezra's kid, right? Her and Ezra.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
Because she just had like an emotional moment and snapped at mean male senator man who, when he masculinely, malely told her that Ezra was dead, and then she kind of freaked out at him a little bit. So that's Ezra's kid.
This baby is rice-skinned, but not light-skinned. That is a white child.
I'm a little confused though, because I got the impression that Ezra and Sabine were like a thing romantically in Rebels, so I don't know if we're doing like a retcon love triangle thing or what. But this brings up a good point about galactic genetics. General Hera is a Twi'lek and Ezra appears to be a white human. How exactly does this work?
That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus.
Are the Twi'lek like entirely humanoid except for the colored skin and the head tentacles? Like they can carry human children?
That is a Slavic baby, a Viking from Iceland.
They've got 46 chromosomes? Like, I don't want to get too scientific, but it just seems something is odd there. Now, the kid does have green hair, which I'm assuming they're saying he got from his mother, but everything else about that kid looks like Ezra all the way down to the center hair part.
That baby got 730 as a credit rating right now.
I accidentally mentioned this to my friend Jeff, and he did spoil it for me. That's not actually Ezra's kid. He claims, but Hera's got light green eyes, and the kid in this show has dark. What color are Ezra's eyes? What's really going on here? I want this to be just like that rumor that Obi-Wan was actually Luke and Leia's father. I am here for this. Ultimately, though, I think this is like a weird fanfic edition. Like, there has to be a ton of Rule 34 about Twi'leks ever since that scene in Return of the Jedi, right? So now they've made it canon, fellas. You really can bone one. Moving on, Sabine and Ahsoka have a little heart-to-heart, which was slow, and Sabine is still whiny.
Knock it off.
The Force is strong with this one.
Dude, don't encourage him.
Then finally we get into the meat of the show. Finally some action. The ship battle. And I want to love this, but there was some weird stuff going on. First of all, who is actually in charge? I got the impression that Ahsoka is the seasoned vet. She's older. She's the one in charge. And Sabine is her whiny runaway Padawan. But in this sequence, Sabine is the one giving the orders. She's telling Ahsoka what to do. She's giving her lip, and ultimately Ahsoka acquiesces to her. I guess while they're being shot at and fired upon, Ahsoka was like trying to teach her a lesson or something, which wasn't super clear, but then Hu Yang just tells us, you guys need to quit fighting. None of that was actually coming across, though.
The way you're both acting, there won't be a later.
Like, Ahsoka was willing to let the ship get blown up to teach her to anticipate the enemy. Like, none of this makes sense. It's starting to seem like we're going to get another Disney special switcheroo, right? The show is named Ahsoka, but it seems very clear that it's becoming the Sabine show. Now, a lot of guys feel that Disney, only does misandrist bait and switches, but you should be happy to know they are equal opportunity when it comes to the rug pull. And the ship should have been blown up, right? We see it get shot multiple times. They don't try to evade at all. It gets hit in the engines. It gets hit in the wings. Are the enemy ships shooting Nerf darts? What is happening here? Finally, they do actually get hit from the giant laser cannons that are exploding right all around them somehow, because they're really not evading that much. So now they're floating in space. Their engine is damaged. I don't think that I've ever seen this in Star Wars before. Typically in Star Wars, when a ship gets hit with a laser cannon, it explodes. Huge, glorious explosion. But they are just kind of floating there. This one doesn't even look like it has taken damage, but we do see a little bit of sparks coming from one of the wings, so I guess that's something. Now we get to quite possibly the most hilarious part of the episode, and that is the Ahsoka spacewalk saber duel with spaceships. You heard me correctly, but before that, there's something about the timing here that is not quite right. I said in the first two episodes I didn't notice some of the inconsistencies because there were enough things going on that I was distracted. Well, this episode had zero development, so nothing was stopping me from seeing the weird crap going on. Now, I understand that this sounds nitpicky, but the show here in this scene is trying to create tension. Oh my goodness, they're floating in space. Their engine is down. The enemy is bearing down on them. What are they going to do? The problem is that all of that tension, everything it takes you out of it when they try to cram all of this stuff into what is realistically just a few seconds. Like, Ahsoka got into a full spacesuit in a couple of seconds. Like, the enemy was right on top of her, and then they cut to the ship, and it's like really far away from there. None of this makes sense. We did get a look at that spacesuit, though. Does that look familiar? That is Saiyan armor right there. Come on.
Call me nuts, but how do you put this thing on?
But you know what? I can look past that. That's okay. We can let that go. It's really not a huge deal. What is a huge deal is Ahsoka walking out onto the wings of her spaceship to face down 3 ships flying at her, firing at her. She is deflecting ship lasers and dodging the ships, which for some reason are trying to physically run into her. We also see the ship get hit multiple times, shot over and over again. Again, are these enemy ships firing Nerf darts? Are these the little gel water ball, water guns that you're seeing all over the place? They're dead. We are told that the ship is out of power. There are no shields. There are no deflectors. They're dead. The ship has exploded at this point. The show is over. The good guys have lost. We're done. No more episodes are needed. They have died. And the enemy is flying in a really tight formation, making runs on this derelict vessel. They should be coming in from all angles, like an atom, like electrons around an atom. What they should not be doing is flying in range for Ahsoka to hit them with a lightsaber. That is her only weapon. The only way that she can beat you is if you're in melee range. All you have to do is stay literally anywhere else in space. But they do fly within feet of the ship, allowing her to do a cool gymnastics move and cut the wing off of one of the ships. Where have I seen this dumb crap? Oh, that's right. The time that Kylo Ren tried to physically run Rey over in the desert because he forgot that he had guns on the ship that he was flying. So she did a backflip and cut the wings off of the TIE fighter. Then she proceeded to do Force lightning while making a face that would suggest she ate an entire pound of cheese the day before and it ain't coming out. Then we see the space whales. That's right, fellow normies. Space whales.
Pair of humpback whales named George and Gracie.
Kirk was looking in the wrong spot. They were here the entire time. Since the show didn't bother to use such a glorious and obvious pun, I will, they use this giant group of whales to elude their enemies. It was an escape pod. Like and subscribe. So they fly down, they set down in the forest to hide from the enemies, and their ship is broken. They're probably going to have to find a different ship to scavenge some engine parts.
Could you tell me where the nuclear vessels are?
So then we get an info dump from Huyang that these whales are Purgle, and they make a migration from one galaxy to another, and that is what the MacGuffin is pointing to, where their migration route goes. Hold on. That means that the people that built the temple and the MacGuffin were actually ancient marine biologists. The cool looking map, that's just a migration chart. The temple where the MacGuffin was hidden, that is an aquarium / science center. 1,000 years ago, some average tour guide was taking children through there, boring them to death with facts about Purgle. Everybody was like, oh, that puzzle she solved was too easy. That's because she was raiding an ancient IMAX theater. So I'm looking at what I've got here, and I said I was going to be optimistic, and that clearly did not work. The action, you know, with the ships, that was nice. Huyang, awesome. Want to see more of him. But, I mean, I don't know. I can't honestly say there was a whole lot else. The show was... Nothing happened in this episode. At the beginning of the episode, they were in hyperspace heading to this planet. And by the end of the episode, they got there, had a fight, and landed on the planet. That's literally all that happened. I am still interested to see where we go, but this week's show was not great, I have to admit. Have you seen it? What did you think about episode 3? Where do you think the show is heading? I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.